Hello and welcome to the Outsmart Overeating podcast. I'm Leslie Hooper and I have Coach Steph Miramonntes alongside me. Today, we're going to be sharing more of a bird's eye view into permanent weight loss and how we have helped over 2,500 women lose weight and keep it off permanently. Because again, if this is new to you, I'm new to you, this podcast is new to you, then it's very important that you recognize right out the gate that I am not interested in helping people lose weight temporarily. My whole philosophy, what I am motivated by, is cracking the code on what is actually required for people to lose weight and keep it off so they never have to diet again. So today I want to talk a little bit about the biggest mistakes that dieters are likely making. And I got caught up in this as well. The diet industry kept me focusing on food instead of my thoughts and my feelings and understanding how those influenced my actions. So the diet industry likes to keep us thinking about how we got to eat less, avoid processed foods, reduce carbs, incorporate protein at every meal, drink more water, get in those 10,000 steps a day, and on and on and on. But the reality is, if you're listening to this podcast and you listen to our previous episode, then you know that the client base we work with tend to be women who are already professional dieters. They already know how to lose weight. The question is, why aren't they doing it? And I will tell you that having worked with as many clients as I have over these past 20 years, I mean, let's be honest, losing weight is a pretty big deal. In American society, you get a lot of praise, a lot of attention, and it feels good. I've witnessed that myself. But what I've learned or what I experienced is that my clients didn't always keep the weight off after we stopped working together. And that was problematic. It really bothered me. And honestly, it took a long time for me to figure out why not only could I not get my clients to keep the weight off, but myself. I was also struggling to keep the weight off after I lost it. My same struggles were the same struggles my clients were going through. However, I was just doing it behind closed doors. So something I've learned is that we have to be willing to look under the hood, right? And if I had been willing to look at my thoughts, my feelings that were driving my actions, I would have seen what was really causing me to struggle and why I was regaining the weight, what that actually meant. It's why 95% of dieters are failing at long-term weight loss. Like I said, even fitness professionals haven't really looked under the hood yet to discover why their clients are struggling. And frankly, I find this really embarrassing. I find this to be a big problem in the diet and fitness industries, is that, we keep giving this very surface level advice. You go to any fitness professional's Instagram account and their solution to every problem is basically to count calories or eat less. Oh, you can't control your cravings? Count your calories. You're not motivated to work out? Well, did you track your calories? Struggling to stick to your calories on the weekends? Well, you probably just need to count them harder. And they all sound the same, and it's totally useless advice. Because like I said, most people already know that they need to be eating less and moving more. We're not lacking information. What we're lacking is the ability to implement. And so when I created my very first group coaching program, I had 3 questions that I wanted to get to the bottom of. How do I get my clients to lose their very first 5 pounds without relying on external tools like calorie counting apps, food scales, Fitbits? Second one, what's the system to find an efficient way to do this so they don't waste months spinning their wheels? It needs to be simple and relatively easy to follow. The third thing I wanted to get to the bottom of is, once we figure it out, because everything is figure outable. How do we make sure that we don't regain the weight? And by the way, this was research I was doing for myself before really. It was right? The first transformation always starts with yourself. So I was really seeking out this information, this knowledge, so I could figure out how to lose my own weight and keep it off permanently. And like I said, most of the information out there was just surface level advice. I already knew that I should be counting calories. I already knew I should be eating less. And it felt safe for me to do that because you don't have to go through the uncomfortable process of understanding what emotional and mental obstacles cause you to gain it in the first place. I mean, it seems silly in hindsight that I was trying to solve a problem that I didn't understand, but you don't know what you don't know. So when I discovered the answers to those 3 questions, that's how the signature psychology-based weight loss program, Unstuffed, was born. 3 pillars: psychology, habits, and body image. So, Steph, you're here accompanying me, and you've witnessed the evolution of Unstuffed because that's not what it was originally named. When I very first launched in February of 2017, that program was primarily focused on habits and psychology, but I could tell something was missing from that program because I always polled clients. I always ask clients in our community, how can we improve the program? What is missing? What do you need to be successful? Where are we going wrong? What could we do better? And one thing that kept coming to the surface that felt off to me is I felt like the clients were turning the habits into a diet. So we had to address that, right? The changes started with having this program not be something that you're doing, but someone that you're becoming. So we needed to make an identity-based change. There needed to be deeper conversations around the mindset. Clients also were able to hide in email inboxes or not reply to emails. So this forced us into wanting to connect deeper through community, having more consistent group coaching calls, strengthen those relationships amongst our clients. So we introduced those changes, and Steph, you were a big part of that. Early on, I was just primarily focusing on the habits and mindset piece, but it's when I collaborated with you and invited you to come and introduce the body image component, because I could tell that they were losing weight and then some would regain it, but there was still like this underlying like not good enoughness with the body, right? They would just find something else to pick on. So I invited you to come and share your wisdom with our community. And since you and I have been working together for several years now, but I would just love to get a little bit of your perspective on your experience as this process has unfolded, first initially, and how it's evolved over these past several years.
Yeah, well, when I came on just as a body image coach. I came on to help your folks learn a little bit more about body image, start to speak a different language around their relationship with their body, and start looking at this bigger picture that encompass so much more than smaller equals better. And so I just need to be smaller and nothing else matters. And so we really just blew the lid off of all of that. And now we talk about it all the time. We host monthly workshops. We have lots of different videos and worksheets and things like that, that we go really deep into the body image work. I mean, we've got one coming up right now today that is on sex and body image. Wait.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, we've got one on sex and body image. We just talk about all the things. Um, and so what we saw was people that, and no surprise here, thought that losing weight would fix their body image. And so they didn't need to do body image work, started to do body image work, and everything changed. The way that they were treating their body, the way that they were thinking about how to feed themselves, how to move, how to do all of these things, the habits started to become easier to follow through on. The psychology piece, the mindset piece really started to come together because they had this larger framework for a relationship with their bodies, with themselves, that was different than just anything it takes to shrink kind of thing. So we were doing it in a much more loving way, and that stuck around. People felt better about their transformation. They felt better about the choices that they were making. And it wasn't just for an end result, it was really to enhance the relationship and keep it, just like any other relationship. It was a beautiful thing, and it continues to be a beautiful thing. You're right. We spent a lot of time in email and hunting people down that weren't answering emails and things like that because of the shame or embarrassment. People have good intentions when they start, but things get, schedules get icky and things fall off the radar, and it's really hard to quote, get it back on track. Or maybe you have a few bad days and then you think you need to get back on track before you can come back to emailing your coach so you can look good when you do. And like, yeah, I had a hard time, but here I'm perfect again, all of those things. And what I love about the calls that we do now is that it does build community. It does bring that opportunity to allow people to see that they're not alone. There's nothing shameful about the struggle. And they learn so much more that it makes them want to keep coming back. They put it on their calendar. They plan for it. They don't want to hide. They don't want to delay it and say, I'll just email later when I feel better. They're like, no, I'm showing up to the call. I'm getting the coaching that I'm paying for, and I'm going to turn this around quickly. It's amazing.
Yeah, and by and large, I feel like without the body image component, our clients were constantly being triggered by a reflection in the mirror, a pair of jeans that didn't fit, stepping on the scale, and then they would immediately want to go back to dieting or restricting. And they would lose a bit of trust in this process even. And so I feel like it was such a blind spot for me. I had no idea how impactful it was going to be or the degree in which it would change people's lives until I actually really was able to go through it alongside our clients when you very first introduced it. And the transformations, the feedback was just so overwhelmingly positive. It's like one of those things that people don't know that they need it until you are in it. And then you recognize the power and influence. And I think also just the unraveling, the unpacking of diet culture and where does this even start and how it evolves over time. And is this a game that you want to continue playing? Because it is kind of, I guess, a contract that we've all blindly subscribed to, is to hate our bodies or see them as problematic, when we don't even recognize how we've been influenced or maybe even brainwashed to believe that there's like a right way to have a body, and the amount of turmoil and friction and discomfort that it affects every facet of our life, from whether we apply for the job or we're willing to go on the date, or right, because we're just afraid, we're terrified of not being accepted. We walk into a room and we're immediately sizing ourselves up to see if it's going to be a safe place. Are we the biggest or the smallest person in the room? And this is the kind of conversation that doesn't happen when you're tracking your macros or counting your calories. These are the real raw conversations that need to happen for people to truly heal and understand, how did I get this wound in the first place? Why is this so important to me that I'm willing to keep putting myself through this madness of being on this merry-go-round and not getting anywhere with dieting? And when you kind of understand the whole framework, the picture becomes more clear because you have all the pieces of the puzzle. Then things start to make sense. And we can have some compassion and understanding for ourselves, and even for our parents and other women in our community who are struggling with this. I mean, so much of our clients' dieting struggles has been passed down to them from generation to generation. And so when we can look at our parents or mothers or fathers, even through a lens of, okay, they're also just victims of this nasty game, then we can really, I guess, stop being so triggered by comments and maybe have a different perspective that allows us to not respond so reactively and try. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at here is just when you can't really solve a problem that you don't understand. And so when you understand it, then it becomes a lot easier to know what direction you need to go in order to move past it or get through it. What do you think, Steph?
When you said, how long do you want to play this game? The first thought that came to my mind is like, do you even know whose game you're playing? Because I didn't. You know, I had so much of my self-worth tied to my diet success and failures that I didn't know who I was outside of this hobby turned obsession that really dictated my whole life. I felt like a terrible mother. I felt like such a bad example. I was so obsessed about having to do all the diety things and take my food places with me, and I could never miss a workout, not even on vacation. There were so many things going on that were tied to this idea of this perfect body that I spent my entire life achieving, that when the sort of dam broke and I started doing my own work around this, everything just came tumbling down. It's like, I don't want to be this kind of mother. I don't want to be this kind of person. I don't want to obsess about this anymore. I don't want to keep thinking about my body every single time I pass a mirror, every time I get dressed, every time I'm in a photo, every time I go on vacation, every time somebody invites me out. I don't want to have to do this anymore. It doesn't feel normal. It only took me 30 years to get to a place where I was just like, maybe this is wrong. Maybe we're thinking about some wrong things here. So, it breaks my heart when I talk to people that feel so broken. Like, I have tried everything and I'm just broken. I'm a broken person. I can't lose weight. I can't keep it off. I'm just cursed with this terrible body, terrible metabolism, terrible life, all the things. And I feel like shit about myself and I have no confidence. And I'm like, girl, I get it. Like, you are me, I am you. And also, we don't have to keep doing this. There is a better way. But when you started talking about some of your own struggle and how hard it is to think about facing your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts and feelings, and the things that lead to these behaviors. Like, gosh, yeah, I think I would have been brave enough to do that had I even known that was a fucking option. But no, I needed all the external things to tell me what to do. I needed everyone outside of me to dictate how I get to feel about myself, what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm not doing good enough, what I, you know, pat on the back, praise when I'm doing it perfectly, and kick in the ass when I'm not. And it just really broke my trust with myself. I didn't know that I actually had a choice in thinking, feeling, and behaving differently without the framework of some diet, some rule book saying, no, this is what you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like at the end of the day, what we try to do with our clients is not necessarily help them lose weight, because that's the byproduct of taking better care of yourself and thinking for yourself and assessing your values and living in alignment with what feels good to you. And so, of course, there needs to be a framework. When you're coming from years and years of dieting, you're used to having that structure. You're used to having the plan. You're used to having the guesswork taken out of it and being told what to do. So there does need to be that in the beginning. However, over time, it really is the goal for us to help our clients just live a much more rewarding life. The life that was robbed from them when they went down the path of dieting and lost themselves in the pursuit of just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Again, we don't have a problem with helping people lose weight, but you have to like your reasons. They have to feel good. If they feel shitty, then you're going to quit. then you're going to give up. Humans don't do things long-term that don't feel good to them. So if we can find a motivator, not even find, discover, understand why living in alignment with respecting our body's physical cues actually feels good to the point where we want to do it and we don't feel like we have to do it, then it becomes so much easier, simpler, when we're not forcing from this place of not good enoughness. And so the body image piece, I know we're spending a lot of time kind of on this pillar, but it was the missing pillar for about 2 to 3 years. And since putting it in the program alongside the psychology and alongside the habit stacking, which we will be getting into on this podcast as well, these foundational habits that are essential for success in the way that we're describing it here. But the body image one is the piece that gets the least amount of attention and probably has the most value. So it is important that we talk about it on this podcast. I want to bring clients on and have them share their experience on the podcast, so we're not just blowing smoke up your ass, or you think that we are. Truly, it's pivotal to your success. So if you're not having those conversations while you're in the process of losing weight, there's a 95% chance you're going to regain it. So it's my personal goal to work with women who I can contact 2 years, 5 years, 15, 20 years from now, and they are in the same place, if not in a much better position than when I left them, right? From when they graduated from the program, that they were able to kind of continue gradually losing the weight, if that's what was necessary. And they're not ignoring, denying, suppressing, eating their feelings, but have learned how to process them in a healthy way that feels good. And one thing you will hear us say on this podcast is life-changing. Those are not our words. Those are the words that our clients use to describe the program, because we're not just here to change your body. We're here to help you change your life from the inside out. And that's always been my goal. So, Steph, that's my message for today. I just wanted to introduce the 3 pillars to our clients. Of course, we will break these down deeper individually, but that's the primary foundation. That's the framework that we use to help all of our clients achieve a successful transformation, as I said, from the inside out. And it doesn't happen by just simply looking at your numbers, how many macros, what food quality you're eating, if you're eating whole foods, processed foods, whatever. That's the easy stuff to focus on. At the end of the day, we want to get to the bottom of the word why. Why are you not following through with the things that you say are important to you? Why are you not living in alignment with your goals? When we can actually get to the root of that, now we can make some meaningful progress, permanent, life-changing progress.
I really think about the habits as the habits are your instructions, right? And I love the habits so much because that's what everybody wants, is the habits, the habits, the habits, and we give them to you. And everybody thinks that's where the transformation is in following the habits because of their dieting history and the sort of tendency to follow the rules and things like that. And it's true, it's a huge piece of the puzzle. But what is so beautiful about the habits in my mind is that the psychology piece comes in when you know the habits, you know how simple they are on paper, and you don't want to do them. And so the psychology piece really highlights where your work really is in why are we self-sabotaging? Why don't we believe in ourselves? Why aren't we doing the things that we say we want to do? Why can't we keep a promise to ourselves? All of that, it comes to the forefront. The psychology really teaches us about ourselves. And then the body image piece is the why. Why do we even want to do this? Why do we care about doing all of this work in the first place? And building that relationship. So I feel like it just is kind of all tied together in this why, what, and how pieces of the puzzle. And you can't do it without one of the pieces, not long-term, not in a sustainable way, not with a good attitude, not with the desire to really master this and make it belong to you, make it who you are instead of just something you're doing until you get an end result so that you can hopefully feel the way that you wish you felt before you started. It just doesn't work.
Well, and that's really all weight loss is chasing a different feeling, a different lived experience. We want access to a different life, and we feel like weight loss is going to be our ticket to getting that pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow. But if you're chasing a feeling, and I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but if you're chasing a feeling, then it's rooted in your thoughts and your beliefs. And so that's where we want to spend time understanding what are your thoughts and beliefs that are driving the discomfort or dissatisfaction in your current body as it is. And again, not saying it's problematic to want to change your body at all, but we want to have clarity on the reasons and make sure that you like your reasons. And we're not just doing it from a place of societal pressure. Or again, a lot of people don't even know why they want to lose weight. They just have a fantasy of what it's going to be like. But in reality, you can go and Google or go onto Reddit any day of the week and read post after post after post of people who have lost weight, expected their lives to be dramatically different. And as a matter of fact, they are just as unhappy, if not worse, because that party wasn't thrown for them. They're not getting all of the accolades or attention or validation that they thought they would. And chances are that's because they were seeking it in the wrong place. It has to come from within. So that's just a tidbit of what we'll be sharing more on the podcast for you all. Thanks to our listeners for chiming in this week. We appreciate your support. As always, we will catch you next Tuesday, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week.